Hello everyone, in today's class we are going to be covering how to create stylized materials. We are going to beginning by creating stylized wood. We are going to start by adding a fill layer and selecting a dark brown color and increasing its roughness to about 1. Now we will move on to creating the edgeware of the wood. We will again add another fill layer, then disable all of the channels except for the color channel. And we will pick a slightly brighter color from the base. Then we will add a black mask and we will be adding a generator. In the generator menu, we will be picking the mask editor option. After that, we will play around with the curvature settings and the global blur and balance settings. We will continue by adding another fill layer, picking an even brighter brown color than before. We will be disabling all of the channels except for the color channel. Then, same as before, we will be adding a black mask, adding a generator, and picking the mask editor option. Then we'll be playing around with the curvature settings and the global blur and balance settings. Next up, we'll be adding the ambient occlusion. Firstly, we'll be adding a fill layer and turning off all of the channels except for the color channel. Then we will be setting the color to black. After that, we will add a black mask and add a generator. With the generator, we will pick the ambient occlusion option. And we'll be enabling the global invert. Then we'll need to add a dirt layer to the wood, so as same as before, we'll begin by adding a fill layer, we'll be picking a dark brown color, we will give it a black mask and then another generator, and we'll be picking the dirt generator. After which we'll be playing around with the dirt settings, the dirt level, and the grunge amount and the scale. We will now be adding a wooden pattern to the texture. Firstly, we'll begin by adding a fill layer and disabling all of the channels. Then we'll be adding a black mask, and in the black mask we'll be adding another fill layer. Then in the texture menu, we'll search for the grunge spots texture. And we will drag and drop it to the grayscale of the fill layer and change the fill layer's projection from UV projection to the triplanar projection. After that, we'll be playing with the tiling. After we are satisfied with the pattern, we will then add a filter to the fill layer and we'll select the blurred directional filter. We will then increase its intensity and set up the angle so that it best fits the form of the model. We can also go back and scale down some of the grunge spots. After we are satisfied, we can go back to the fill layer's base color and set it to a brighter brown tone. After that, we can go back to some of the previous settings and adjust some of them to our liking. We'll be adjusting the settings until we're not satisfied with how it looks.
Right now, everything's okay. No matter where you find yourself, no matter what kind of stuff is going on in your life, underneath it all, everything's actually alright. You're okay. You have more power than you might be giving yourself credit for. If you have something that's going on in your life right now that's challenging, a reminder to take a little bit better care of yourself. You're worth it. You can have this feeling.
Now we will be going back and adding a gradient to the wood. Right above the base color, we'll be adding a new fill layer and picking a bright brownish color. After we increase its roughness to about 1, we'll be adding a black mask, then a generator, and we'll be picking the 3D linear gradient. Then we will adjust the gradient's balance and we will lower the layer's opacity to around 30. For the final touch on the stylized wooden material, we'll be adding a baked lighting. Same as before, we'll be adding a fill layer and turning off all of the channels except for the color channel. We then will be adding a filter and we'll be selecting the second baked lighting filter. Then we'll change the layer's mode to soft light. Before moving on to the next stylized material, we will group all of the layers of the previous one and organize and rename them. We will now move on to making another stylized material. We'll be making an old stylized rock. Firstly, we'll begin by adding a fill layer and picking a dark green color. Then we can either increase its roughness to 1 or we can completely disable all of the layers. We then will add a new fill layer with a brighter base color, and we will disable all of the channels except for the color channel. We will then set the layers mode to linear dodge. Then we will be adding a black mask and we'll be adding a generator. Then we're going to pick the mask editor and we'll be playing around with the global blur, the balance, and all of the curvature settings. Same as the previous stylized material, we'll be adding another gradient to the base model, following the same steps as before. After that, we're going to add a filler and pick a bright red color with all of the layer channels disabled, except of course for the color channel. We then add a black mask, a generator, and we're going to be picking the mask editor. Also make sure to enable the global invert. Then in the settings of the mask editor, we will increase the world space normal to 1. After that, we'll set the layers mode to overlay. We can then change the layers color to a dark blue color. Same as the stylized wood material, we're going to be adding dirt to this material as well, following the same steps as before. But we will change the dirt's color to a darker green tone. Following the previous steps as the stylized wood material, we're going to add a baked light to the model. We will also lower the layer's opacity a bit. For the final touch, we'll be adding a height texture. We will start by adding a filler, and in the texture tab, we will search for stone. Then we will drag and drop it onto the height channel. We will be disabling all of the channels except for the color and the height channel. After that, we add a filter and we select the height adjustment filter. We then lower the multiply. In the end, we can disable the color to see how the texture turned out. Again, we group up all of the layers, organize them and rename them. Next up, we'll be continuing by creating a stylized metal material. We'll begin by adding a fill layer. We will then be disabling all of the channels except for the color, roughness and the metallic channel. Then we will increase the metallic channel to 1 and we will increase the roughness channel. After that, we can change the fill layer's color to a more desaturated bluish tone. We then can create another fill layer and we will increase the metallic to 1 and we will pick a brighter color than the base, and same as before we will increase its roughness. We can then pick a brighter blue color to have highlighted edges. Then we can also adjust its roughness a bit. After that we can add a black mask and then we can add a generator. Then we will pick the mask editor generator and we will play around with the curvature settings. After that we can go back and decrease the roughness a bit. For our final touch, we'll be adding a fill layer and picking a darker blue color. We then increase the metallic and the roughness. Then we will add a black mask and a generator, and we'll pick the dirt generator, and same as before, we'll play around with the settings and the grunge. We can also lower the opacity a bit. Now we're going to be grouping up the layers, organizing and renaming them same as before. For our final stylized material, we're going to be making a stylized glowing stone using the emissive channel. We'll begin by adding a fill layer and naming it. Then we're going to be picking a darker purple color, and we're going to be disabling all of the channels except for the color and the roughness channel. We're going to be clicking the roughness channel, and we're going to select the dirty muddy roughness map. We can then play around with the balance on the layer. After that, we will add a fill layer with all of the channels turned off except for the emissive channel. We will now pick a bright orange emissive color. We will then add a black mask, add a generator, and select the mask editor generator. Then down in the menu, we will increase the position gradient opacity. After that, we will play around with the curvature opacity and all of the other settings. Then, in order for the emissive to be visible, we will go into the display settings and enable the post effects. Then, in the shader settings, we can increase the emissive's intensity. For the final step, we can just group them up and organize and rename them. In the end, we can go back and edit some of the other stylized materials until we're not satisfied with how they look. That is all for today's class about creating stylized materials.